Yavo Ezri Esainai El Heharim Me'ain Yavo Ezri Me'im Adonai Ose Shamayim Ezri Me'im Adonai Ose Shamayim V'aretz Ha'itein lamod raglecha Ayanum shomrecha Hine lo yanum ve'lo yishan Shomer Yisrael Adonai shomrecha Adonai tzilcha yad yeminecha Adonai shomrecha Adonai tzilcha yad yeminecha Yom HaShemesh lo yakeka ve'yareach balayla Adonai yishmorcha mikol ra Yishmor et nafshecha Adonai yishmor tzedcha uvoecha me'ata ve'ad olam Adonai yishmor tzedcha uvoecha me'ata ve'ad olam Mekomo yavo v'shalom. Everyone can stand there if you want. Maybe you're not all behind you. It's going to be very weird. I'm just saying, we have time. You can come. It's warmer there, I promise. It's a warmer spot. I think it's just as cold. As close as you look. There's just the cameras right there.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you to everyone who is tuned in and is watching the live stream broadcast of this service as we've joined together to honor, to pay tribute, to show respect for, and to say goodbye to a great man, Myer Thompson. We begin with a psalm. I've chosen Psalm 121, known as Shir LaMa'alot, which is a song for those who ascend. I turn my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help comes from Adonai, from God, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your guardian will not slumber. You see, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your protection. God is your guardian at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your life. God will guard your going and coming now and forever. May Myer Thompson go unto God in peace. Thank you. Hatsur tamim paulo ki chol dracha mishpat el emunah ve'einav el tzadik v'yashar hu tzadik atadonai lamidu l'hachayot asher b'yadcha pigadon kol ruchot chalila lecha zichronenu limchot v'yihiyu na'einecha berachamim aleinu fekuchot ki lecha adon harachamim v'haslichot Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach Yishem Adonai mevorach V'hu rachum yichaper avon v'lo yashchid v'hirba lashiv apo v'lo yirkol chamato v'yashov he'afar al haaretz she'haya v'haruach ta'ashuv el ha'elohim asher netana. The dust returns to the earth as it was, but the spirit returns to God who gave it. May Myer's soul be bound up in the bond of life eternal, and may God, Adonai, send comfort to those who mourn and grant strength to those whose burden is sorrow. Again, thank you for being here, for braving the cold, and joining us together. Being here or tuning in, the messages you sent and continue to send give courage and strength to Myer's family at this difficult time. Myer passed away on Sunday, the 24th day in the Hebrew month of Kislev, on the eve of the beginning of the Festival of Lights of Hanukkah. He was 94. And we recognize his family, who are now in mourning. His children, Pam and Marty, Marley Ann, Neil, his grandchildren and their partners, Jordan and Tali, Amy and Liam, nieces and nephews, cousins, friends of his kids. Myer was predeceased by his wife Sherry, by his siblings, Rose, Henry, and Lori, as well as by his parents, Saul, Solly, and Ida. In Hebrew, he was Meir ben Shlomo ve'ita, and I'll talk about the name Meir in just a moment. Pam has some words of eulogy and tribute she'd like to share, and so does Jordan, and I want to turn the mic over to them as quickly as possible. But just by way of giving introduction, I'm very honored to be here because I knew Myer Thompson, and as I've come to learn in the unique nature of the job that I had for many years and still do, I have a lot of friends who are not in my age bracket, and Myer Thompson, every time we talk to each other, it was like he was my friend. And I think that many people have found that. One of the lines that came out when the family and I were together yesterday was that people were Myer's oxygen. He could talk to people of all ages clearly. I think it spoke to why he had such a successful career in sales, why so many of you who are not in his age bracket either are all here today together to say goodbye to him. I can close my eyes and picture Myer coming into a room. I think someone referred to him as a gentle bear. They don't usually make Jewish people that big. Chaim is excluded. But he was a gentle bear. He was a presence even just by walking in. But he was soft-spoken. He was funny. He had a playful, jokester kind of smile. His trademark mustache, the way he would look at me and probably others sort of over his glasses. But he always listened. And to people who knew him in different shapes and forms, he certainly loved. He loved people, and his family especially. Myer Thompson, over his 94 years, knew, he probably learned it very early on, that there's nothing more important in life than family. He was very proud of the family he grew up in. He was a North End boy, the third of 4 siblings with Rose and Henry and his younger brother, Lori. Growing up in the North End, at one time they lived on Inkster. His father, Solly, and his brothers were involved in the cattle business. And Myer would often remark how proud he was to be one of the Thompson clan. Later on in life, he spent many years working at Leader General with his brother Lori, and he felt very fondly about those years that they were able to work together, the time, his role there. His grandkids have many memories of going to visit him at work, where he was known as the Candy Man. And Pam was sharing stories of going all over the city, or Jordan was playing hockey, and they'd run into parents, and conversation would lead, and these people that were from a different part of town that they didn't know, they knew Myer Thompson as the Candy Man from Leader General, from just being his usual self. Folksy, charming, interested, a good listener, a good conversationalist. Like we said, he was a product of the North End. He went to McRae School and St. John's Tech, and there was some speculation that maybe had he had different opportunities in life, would have gone to law school, become a lawyer, but he went to work right away out of high school, and it was through his sales job that he met Sherry. She was a secretary working in an office. He was on a sales call. He met, and that was history. They were married in 1952, and from that moment, for nearly 60 years until her passing, he devoted only sort of captures their relationship. He truly cherished her every moment they had together, put her on a pedestal. There was one comment that if anyone even kind of thought a negative thought about Sherry, Myer would jump in and say, "Don't you talk about your mother, or don't you talk about your Bubba like that, your Bubby." He was fiercely protective, defended her, and just loved making a life with her. Within the 8 years after they were married, they had 3 kids, and they were building their home on Colish Drive, where their kids grew up. And Myer worked to take care of everybody, to support his family, to make sure that they could have whatever they wanted. Like I said, Pam and Jordan are going to speak. The one other thing I wanted to touch on was just that he had a lot of sayings. He had a lot of Myerisms. If anyone ever needed something, he always knew a fella who could fix this or fix that. He really was a terrific guy who was a presence. And I mentioned at the beginning that his name in Hebrew is Myer. Myer means one who enlightens, or one who lights up. I think that through his presence, through the way he looked, the way he smiled, the way he made people feel, he brought a light into every room, into every relationship, every conversation. And that will never be forgotten by the people who are here, the people who are tuning in, the people who knew him and will remember him. And speaking of those people, I'm going to call up Pam to begin the hesped portion, the eulogy for Myer Thompson.
Alrighty. Hi. Thank you. I know you're old, obviously. Alright. Thank you. Alright. Here we go. Dad, you fought long and hard these past couple of years, and I'm happy that you're finally at peace. The number of calls, texts, and emails I've received from people reacting to your passing has been a testament to the lives you have touched with your megawatt smile and beautiful heart. You were so proud to be working at Home Depot till you were 92 years old, and the fact that you were the oldest employee across Canada. 4 hours a day, 4 days a week. How many 92-year-olds were able to collect CERB because they were still working? Remarkable. In fact, one of our friends joked that you worked more hours than he did. Your love for Jordan and Amy, Marty and I was all-encompassing. You and Mom showered us with so much love, it taught me how I wanted to be when I became a mom. There was nothing you wouldn't do for us. Anytime we needed anything, you were over in a flash. I had to be careful if I asked you if Home Depot had something I was looking for, because the next thing I knew, you were calling me and telling me to be home because it was being delivered the next day. You were the kids' biggest cheerleader. You were at all their sports and activities. You were so proud of their accomplishments. You loved being at Jordan's baseball games, and you became the Sweepers honorary Zeta. You wore the Sweepers #1 fan jacket they gave you with such pride. You were an exuberant fan when Jordan played hockey. Actually, so exuberant, in fact, that it got to the point where I had to threaten to you with not telling you where the games were if you didn't stop yelling at the ref and the opposing team. You were so proud watching Amy evolve into a feisty basketball player. You never missed a basketball game or dance recital. And the way your face would light up when we would surprise you at Home Depot when Amy came in for a visit was priceless. We pretty much had to peel you off the roof. You were so excited when she came home from Vancouver. And when Amy first moved out to Vancouver, we went for a visit. You were so excited to see her in her new life there. Our summers at the beach were precious. You and Mom spent every summer with the kids, watching them grow, teaching them some very important life lessons, like making our famous pickles, which you insisted were the best because we used beach water, a tradition we carry on to this day. Dad, you taught us some very valuable lessons about the persistence in fixing things. It seemed the most important tool was swearing at the object in hand in Yiddish, and a few well-placed "Oh, you're nishgitter" seemed to help get the job done. Friday Shabbat was sacred in our home. It started with us going north when the kids were little. As they got older and started having social lives, they never planned anything on a Friday until after dinner, because it was important for them to be with their bub and Zay. When Dad started coming to our house for Friday night dinners, he had to approve the menu. Otherwise, he said he wasn't coming. And then his standard line after dinner was, "That was worth the drive." Dad, you had so many Myerisms. You kept us highly amused. We love you so much, and we will miss you with all of our hearts, but you are where you need to be now, and it's with Mom. Love you, Daddy.
When my mom called me to tell me that Zay had passed, I was fittingly in my hockey equipment about to go on the ice for a game. We chatted briefly and I asked if I should come to their house. I knew the answer before I finished asking. Absolutely not. Play your game, it's what he would have wanted. As many people have mentioned to me in the last few days, Zay was my number one fan. Zay was at every game of mine that he could get to for as long as I can remember. And if he couldn't, he would call me to let me know why he wasn't coming. When I was younger and our parents still helped us with our equipment, Myer used that as an opportunity to invade our locker rooms after games to give unsolicited and unfiltered opinions to my friends and I about our performances. This continued for many years after we no longer needed help getting dressed. He once jokingly threatened to punch a hole through one of my teammates for kibitzing him back a little too hard. He was never officially affiliated with the team, but he did become affectionately known as Team Zeta. When I got a little older, I joined a Jewish slow pitch team called the Sweepers. Myer came to every single game while he still could. Rain or shine, he was there with his fold-up chair. He even went to the games that I missed while traveling Europe. He was dedicated. The team embraced him and he once again became a proud Team Zeta. He was on the bench with our team when we won championships. He drank champagne when we popped bottles. And it wasn't like in a pity kind of way or a, hey, look at that cute old guy kind of way. They genuinely liked him and thought he was cool. He had this big zany personality, but he also genuinely listened when someone spoke, and you could see he was considering what you were saying and that he cared, and people loved that. We were watching home videos of my parents' wedding weekend festivities last night, and it was a perfect example of the dichotomy of Myer. In the first clip, he had the camera, he was greeting people at our cottage, at the beach, big boisterous personality, charming the ladies, and saying some horribly vulgar things to his friends. The second clip was his speech after my parents were married. He was so elegant and eloquent and thoughtful and understated, he had a command of the whole room. It was very cool to see. When Amy and I were little, we were lucky enough to spend our summers at the beach with our parents and Bub and Zay in our tiny hallway of a cottage. We would go in the water and Zay would sneak under us and scare us like a shark. We would eat raspberries fresh from the bush in the backyard, cherry tomatoes from the garden, and obviously make the famous family pickles. A tradition that would grow to include friends and family and is still going strong today. There's not much better as a kid than when your grandfather manages a wholesale store. Mom would pick us up after school and we would go take the long ride to Leader General, get some candy, get some pickles that Myer kept aside for us in a staff fridge, and then be off to Bub and Zay's for Friday night dinner. Another tradition we were lucky to have for many, many years. Speaking of dinner, it was always an adventure taking this guy to a restaurant. If you didn't constantly have eyes on him, he would be at another table asking them about their meals. He would always let the servers know that he wanted an extra large portion. His love language was spaghetti and meat sauce. One time we took him to try sushi and, being the hungry and curious man that he was, he ate the entire blob of wasabi in one bite before we could stop him. He tried really hard to act like it wasn't bothering him. He would be upset with me if I didn't mention how much he loved Sherry. She was his entire life and he would do anything for her. He cherished her. And as it was said before, and I'm now reminded, we couldn't say anything to her because he would tell us he'd knock us out. When she passed many years ago, we weren't sure how or if Myer would bounce back, but he told us he had to, and he would for the rest of us. It took a little while, but he did, and we were so proud of him. He got a job at Home Depot, and at 92, he was the oldest person in the company across Canada. He learned to use a computer and an iPad. He drove his car basically until he went into the Simkin Center. He was, in his own words, a tough old bastard. Myer was a unicorn, a 1 in a million, and truly encapsulating his essence is a really hard thing to do. Everyone just loved Myer. He was a great man. I know that's what you say at funerals, but in this case, it's especially true. Everyone he came into contact with parted ways with him a little bit happier. If we were all a little bit like Myer, the world would be a better place. Thank you all.
Thank you so much to Jordan and to Pam. Beautiful words. Beautiful eulogies. I too played, not for the Sweepers, but in that Jewish men's slow pitch league for many years. And the opposing teams, we often, when we would play the Sweepers, the conversation would be like something like, we can't get our wives to come to this game. How does Jordan have his grandfather here? And then the best would be after we would lose to the Sweepers and I would be chatting with him and he'd be like, they really kicked your butts, man. Go home, man. Go home. I thought we were going to have a friendly chat. I do think that love of sports was something that started early for Myer. I wanted to mention that as well. He was a great athlete in his youth, in football, hockey. One of the things that he and Sherry loved doing, going to the Gold Eyes games. And that's something that I'm sure his family, people who knew him, will remember. But the uniqueness, and I think that it's captured in the last story, which is, there's always a debate when people become grandparents. So they become Zaidi, or Zayda, Bubby, or Baba, or Bubby, or whatever. And I've never known anyone other than Myer Thompson who is just Zay. And for all of Amy and for all of Jordan's friends, if you mentioned Zay, they knew exactly who you were talking about. And I think that again speaks to what Jordan just mentioned, that he was a one-of-a-kind individual. We honor him and we say goodbye to him today, but he will not be forgotten. It's my honor to chant the El Malei Rachamim in honor of Myer Thompson. El Malei Rachamim shochein b'meromim Hamitzei menucha nechona tachat kanfei Ashchina B'malot kedoshim uteorim Kizor arakia Mazirim Et nishmat Meir ben Shlomo v'ita shelach leolamo Vegan eidente menuchato Anabal harachamim Hastireu b'seiter kenafecha leolamim Utzror v'tzror achayim et nishmato Adonai hu nachalato v'yanuach v'shalom al mishkavo v'nomar Amen. Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure to the soul of Myer Thompson, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that he find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. Again, thank you to everyone for being here and to everyone who has tuned in as well. There will be one evening of Shiva in honor of Myer, where more stories can be told and where his family can be comforted. The Shiva will be this evening from 7 to 9. Prayers will be at 7. It will be at Pam and Marty's house, 838 Elm Street. So again, 838 Elm. Prayers at 7. Visitation 7 to 9 for this evening of Shiva. In a moment, we'll ask the family to lead us in concluding our service, shoveling earth into the grave, and everyone else is invited to participate. Of course, I always caution people, it's very slippery, very slick, so be careful around the grave site. After the family goes, there are multiple shovels you can line up on both sides. Most people pour 3 shovelfuls of earth. There are all kinds of different customs. Some people use the front of the shovel, some people use the back of the shovel. Some people, when they're done, return the shovel to the earth as if reluctant to pass on the burden, but other people have the tradition of passing the shovel to the next person because it's a communal act. Remember, this is something that we believe in Jewish tradition. The ultimate form of respect is to accompany someone to his final resting place and then lay him to rest ourselves. Hands that once held his hands, kind, knowing, sorrowful hands, we use our hands to shovel earth. If the shovels are too big but you still want to participate, you can't see on that side, but in front of me here there's a small pail with a small shovel and sand inside so that you can use that as well. And again, the tradition depends. Whatever the ritual you're familiar with is the one you should embrace so that it has meaning, but most people do pour 3 shovelfuls of earth. For anyone who says this is a painful act, we acknowledge that that is true, but we also remind ourselves it's a mitzvah. It's a selfless act. We do without any hope of reward for someone who meant so much to many people, who deserves to be honored by his family and community. Earlier in the service, we said the words of Job, the epitome of suffering in Jewish tradition, and we say them again now. Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai mevorach. God, you have given, God, you have taken. Blessed be the name of God. May the memory of Myer Thompson, Meir ben Shlomo Ve'ita, may his memory be for a blessing as we mark that his essence will never leave our hearts and our souls. Thank you again to everyone. Let's now recite the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabah, be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates peace and harmony on high bring peace and harmony to us, to all Israel, and to all humanity. And again, let us say amen. To the family, we offer these traditional words. Hamakom yinachem etchem b'toch sha'ar avelei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May you be comforted and consoled. May God comfort and console you among all those in our community who are or who have ever been in mourning. Again, thank you to everyone for being here, and I invite the family to come forward and lead us.